contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. This episode contains talks of sexual assault and suicide. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or suicidal thoughts, know that you are not alone and that help is available.
Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Riera, and this is Dustin Webb. With a little handshake. Give me one still like this. Nice. All right, I'm gonna use that as a thumbnail. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
I'm a freelance director for corporate events, camera operator for ESPN and Bally Sports, and anyone that wants to hire me, and content creator, trying to make a podcast, trying to be like you.
What's the name of the podcast?
Lights, Cameron, Dustin.
Nice.
Right now we're only on YouTube. We're a variety show, and we hope that we're funny. So hey, give a watch, give a like, give a subscribe, and then
I'll put
you don't have to watch us ever again, but help that algorithm.
That's right. It all helps.
When I say algorithm, I always imagine Al Gore.
I never actually put that together.
And then he's like dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I'll have to use that next time. So, Mr. Dustin, usually I have like entrepreneurs and artists on here and stuff like that. I feel like not a lot of contracts, not a lot of freelancers get enough rep. And I feel like they are their own business.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So like, I don't have you on here because like obviously you have like a vast knowledge of what you do. But
I still feel like I'm learning. I appreciate those words.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always learning.
That's good. I mean, that means you're humble. You're in a good spot. But I want to start from the top, man. So where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Currituck, North Carolina, on the coast. Yeah, little country area. Yeah.
Okay.
Grew up out there and then moved to Raleigh for college, and now I call Raleigh home.
So wait, hold on. You said the coast?
From the coast.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So beach man. Okay.
Yeah.
That all makes sense now.
Yeah.
You always had this like beach vibe too.
I didn't realize how much of a beach vibe I had until I got here and like kind of like became an adult, and then I'm like sandals, shorts.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Once you got away from it.
Yeah, and now I miss the water.
Mm-hmm. Do you usually go back like?
No.
No?
I'm too busy working.
Oh, damn.
My mom wishes I would come back more.
Right. Are they still out there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they live out there.
So how was it growing up on a beach, man? I bet that was fun.
I lived on the mainland, so I wasn't on the beach all the time. But I get nitpicky. I think people that are like, "Oh, you're 30 minutes away. You're on the beach." And it's like, but we weren't. But
right.
We actually grew up on the Intercoastal Waterway. So I literally could walk across the street from my house, and there was the Intercoastal Waterway.
Yeah.
And we would go down and watch $1 million yachts come through, stop at the marina near our house. I don't think you appreciate where you came from, because that still was a poor little area. And because I grew up single mom, broken home, and came from that kind of like a poverty situation. For my mom to do what she did is awesome. Yeah. But like that area was like kind of poor, but it was cool to see these yachts come through and like what park at the harbor? I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever boats do.
I think they park at the harbor.
Yeah, I think that's dock. They
dock.
Yeah,
they dock. Yeah. That's right.
I'm not a boater, so but it was cool. We'd ride our bikes up, get ice cream from the marina and stuff.
Were you like a trouble kid?
No,
because I feel like if you grow up near the beach or somewhere scenic,
I knew them, but I was spending too much time doing schoolwork and sports, and then working.
Gotcha.
I liked making money because then I could spend it. I didn't have to ask anyone for it. I was just
like since you were little, like a little.
Yeah, like I'd do chores and stuff. I probably could do more.
Yeah.
I wasn't an entrepreneurial genius
right.
like some people. They're just like, I was selling lemonade since I was 4, and I had an LLC by the time I was 6.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
$4 million a month.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I did want to work early. Once I got my license, I was wanting to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had my first legal job, like when I was 14. I think that's when you can get the work permit.
I think so, yeah. I think it was similar because I would walk to the gas station down the street and like clean toilets, do some grunt work.
Yeah. So you came from a poor family background?
Yeah.
So I get that. Like, I feel like a lot of people who grow up in poor environments know the value of wanting to make their own money, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so like they end up working early.
And like, and I didn't want to ask my mom because I knew we didn't have much. She was taking care of me and my brother, so I felt thankful enough she was able to get me a car.
Yeah,
I mean, back then cars were cheaper.
Yeah,
it's like $500 for a little hatchback car.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't great, but I was happy.
That's nice.
I'd drive wherever I wanted.
That's right, and teenager, letting loose. So it sounds like you were aware of your situation growing up with like a single mom and like not wanting to ask her mom for money.
Yeah, that's why I focused on school so much is I realized we weren't going to pay for college. And we could probably get grants because of how poor we were. But I also was like, hey, if I'm smart and I get good grades and do the best I can, and then I'm at the top of my class, I can also get scholarships.
Yeah.
So I stressed that and really focused on studies.
So you wanted to go to...
No, you're good.
So you wanted to go to college, like you knew you wanted to go to college pretty much?
I just was taught that's what you did.
Yeah.
Like,
damn.
I didn't have I guess I had a choice, but like I didn't. It felt like it was written. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you're smart, you go to college.
Right. I think I was too much of a rebellion that I was like, nah, I'm just going to work.
Part of me wishes I did, but everything led me to here, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But I was so smart in my class, like one of the top 5-10 kids, and where everybody was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, you're going to be an engineer? I'm like, sure, I'm going to be an engineer. I had no idea what engineers did.
Yeah.
All I cared about then was I like playing video games, working, sports, school.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have time or cared to go to the beach as much. I regret that a little bit because it was my backyard. I could have gone all the time.
Yeah.
And then I moved away, and then I was like, oh man,
I missed that.
should have gone to the beach more.
How was your mental state growing up? Because I didn't grow up with a single mom or anything like that, so I don't know how hard that actually is. As a kid. You know what I mean? It's weird to think about because it was normal to me. So I didn't have anything to compare it to until maybe I became healthier as an adult and looking at like childhood trauma or hearing how things affected me through my mom's eyes, like my father leaving and him visiting or not even being there consistently, like broken promises and things like that. Seemed like it really affected me. Yeah.
I think that's where my pursuit of perfection came from. Was I wasn't good enough for my dad to love me.
Right.
So I need to be perfect to make sure my mom loves me. And maybe if I'm perfect, my dad will love me.
Yeah.
Like these weird things that somehow it's my fault. I mean, it's not. But I think as a kid, you don't realize you're internalizing that.
Yeah.
And even though it's hurtful and hard, like a lot of some of the drive that I have is because of his absence.
Yeah. I feel like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as I became a teenager, it turned like it still was there, but it became spiteful and anger. And like my goal in life, and in a way I've accomplished it, but I wanted to be an actor, and what I wanted to do was become so successful and so seen that my father would have to acknowledge that he wasn't there for any of it. Like he wasn't a part of the success or what built.
Yeah.
And now, like I am part of national broadcasts, and I am part of things that he's probably seen, doesn't even know.
Yeah.
If I can digress, the cool story, he probably watched one game I was a part of because he is a Tennessee Volunteers fan.
Yeah.
And my first game that was on ESPN as a camera op for their package was them against like Georgia State. Should be a blowout. Tennessee's supposed to beat this team.
Yeah.
Georgia State upsets Tennessee. One of the worst upsets in Tennessee history. And I was there for it, and
Nice.
I felt seen then. I was like, oh, it's my father's favorite team.
Right. Yeah.
And I was part of like the biggest upset in their history, and I was part of the broadcast that he got to watch. I don't know if he watched it or not, but like it's weird what motivates you to carry through your life. So like mental state when I was a kid, like felt normal. I dealt with some other stuff too that was hard, but everything like my mom was really there and so provided a loving environment. So I don't think I like was as traumatized as I probably could have been. Like I came out of all that.
Yeah. Well, did you? First off, with that game that you were talking about, did you find yourself like doing the best that you could just because like he's probably watching or something like that?
Yeah, there was times it was emotional too because we were there and I was like, oh, this is where my father, like, this is his territory, and so there's all this emotional connection and I wasn't worried about doing a good job because of that situation. It was my first game on a package, and I wanted to just be on the ball, knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And the genius moment was we got locker room shots afterwards, which no one accounted for. They were like, everybody was like, the blowout, Georgia State's not going to win. This game is just a game, first game of the season. But I went and prepped to make sure that we could get into the locker room before the game, even though it was not going to happen, right? And then in the middle of the fourth quarter, when it started to look like, hey, this might be an upset, my director got on. He's like, hey, you didn't put out triax cable near the locker room by chance, did you? And I was like, yes, sir. And I was just like the hero for that moment. So we got the upset, and then we got to go into the locker room because I made sure we had all the preparation there. Nice. Even though everyone told me, it was like, don't worry about that.
Right.
Don't do the extra work. And I was like, dude, prepare for like it's the Super Bowl so you can get everything you need.
There you go.
And when things happen, you're prepared, then you look like a genius.
Yeah.
And all I did was just prep for it.
And then they call you back for more work.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Going back to your childhood, you were seeking approval from your mom, right? Because you think your dad, walk down on you and stuff like that. Do you find yourself trying to seek approval in general because of that, like growing up?
I think I did for a while. I've been going to therapy for like 14 years, and I go every week because I think, for me, it's really helpful. I think I'd recommend it to everyone. I think it's good. For me, the best way for me to improve myself is to constantly go. Like, I might not need to go for 3 weeks, but if I go every week, 1 day out of 5 will uncover something that's pretty traumatic. But I wouldn't ever think about it as traumatic in my view. I did in my like mid-20s and 30s, and I think being a camera operator fulfills that because I naturally am seeking approval, naturally trying to get the great shot live, naturally trying to get my assignments, naturally wanting a director to say, hey, good job, good shot, good.
Yeah.
So, yes, therapy's helped me like realize and be self-aware of it probably and help deal with it, or recognize like I don't need to have that approval.
Right.
I don't seek that from my relationships anymore, which I think for a while was the negative thing. When I like finally became comfortable with who I was and happy with myself is when I like met my wife. And then maybe being self-aware of like, hey, the reason I like freelance or like why it's a good fit is I am getting this return. I'm seeking that approval and I'm getting that return. I'm getting that feedback.
Yeah.
And it's positive. I think what you're asking about probably still goes into the line though of me wanting to be perfect. Maybe I'm not seeking the approval, but I'm still afraid if I don't do everything right that I'm a failure.
Right.
Like yesterday, this weekend I had a gig and some equipment that I was responsible for was broke. Me and another person were both putting it away, and that person, I don't know if they did something or I did something when they handed, but like 2 people were operating that equipment, and somehow it broke. But it was my responsibility, and now I'm like, man, I'm a terrible worker.
Yeah. It's almost like your childhood comes back. And like, right? And it's like,
it's and it's not even on purpose, or I wouldn't recognize it as a child. It's just part of who I am, and trying to cope with that is like, no, you're a good worker.
Yeah,
nothing's wrong. Shit happens. Sometimes equipment fails. Like nobody might have done anything wrong.
Right.
But anytime I'm not perfect, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. I've had to learn a lot. It took a long time to really learn that. Even though there's things I could have improved on, not to beat myself up on it. Yeah. And that took a long time. Because, like, my dad never walked down on us, but, like, he did everything else that was, like, damn, I wish I had your approval. I wish you believed me and all this stuff. And so, yeah, I kind of get that vibe and stuff like that, so.
And I think you and I have both, like, done roads less traveled. And did your parents ever like try to steer you away from your dreams or your work?
Sure.
No, go do something safer.
Yeah,
yeah. Like
like a job. You know what I mean? Like,
what we're doing is work.
Right. Yeah, like I'm a contractor at SAS and stuff like that. So my mom's always like, "Oh, did you work at SAS? Oh, you worked in business? Oh, okay." I'm like, that's
like it all can lead to making a living.
Yeah.
But I feel like doing something unconventional also like lends to like, I don't want to say it's disapproval from our parents, because I think sometimes, not speaking for your dad, more for my mom, but
sure.
maybe your father had that mindset a little bit partially. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that because I don't want to see you fail or suffer. And I want what's best for you. And sometimes like what's best for you is like following your dreams and doing something that statistically may be less successful.
Yeah.
Possibly. But if you're able to make a living and be happy, or what is success? That's the other thing, is everybody defines it differently.
Yeah.
And I think our people's parents always wants what's best for them, but that's a different outlook from every person's angle.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about like immigrant parents. Especially like because they're coming from something, and like America is obviously like better than what they had, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it that much harder, and it puts the weight on my shoulders pretty much to actually like go out there and like do. I think that's why I wanted to become an actor mostly too, because to get my parents' approval and to show them like I see what I can do for my own, and just to make something big of myself that my parents could like look back on, So, but you wanted to act.
I did.
Why did you want to act?
Same reasons.
Yeah.
I wanted.
I mean, we kind of covered that a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted. I liked the center of attention. I liked being funny. I wanted to do stand-up comedy, and.
But like, what did you do? What did you like? Okay, so you mentioned stand-up and acting and stuff like that, but like. Was there something in particular that like got you the bug maybe or something like that? Did you do a monologue in front of people and people loved it and you're like, ooh, I want more of that?
No, it was all results based. Like I wanted the results, or I wanted the fame, or I wasn't pursuing it for the right reasons, I guess. So, which is what I've discovered in adulthood is like, oh, well, I just wanted the recognition. Comedy is easy because you're funny, you get a laugh. Like that makes sense. But I also just wanted acting. I didn't want to put in the work. Didn't care about the craft as much. It just seemed I just wanted to show up and do it, right?
Gotcha.
So I learned, and I also learned like I wanted to transfer the emotional energy from behind the camera to the audience, or from in front of the camera, whichever way you want to look at it. But I wanted it. Like I wanted to transfer that medium through the screen into other people's hearts, and you are a vessel to do that as an actor. But if you're the director or producer, you're controlling the whole vision.
Yeah.
And so after some acting gigs and doing some of the stuff in front of the camera, I didn't find any fulfillment, and it's more competitive to make money that way.
Yeah.
I found that I started making money working behind the camera, and over time found like, hey, I like it back here.
Oh, interesting.
I like producing or directing. I want to be behind the camera.
You were more comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I was making more money, but it just was happier. Like being in front of it, I think, sometimes I feel like it's lonelier.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
I think it's hard. I actually think it's harder. Like felt like I could have been successful, but it takes work. And then the other thing I think people don't think about is the emotional tools you need to develop to tap into to be a great actor.
It's really draining.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing it all day.
Yeah. And I'd rather be physically drained because of manual labor than to be emotionally drained.
Do you feel like maybe you weren't ready mentally to act?
I agree with that.
Okay.
I still have the bug. I still would like to act or do comedy or something. And I'm like, hey, maybe in the second half of my life I'm going to do something cool. Or maybe direct or do, who knows. But I kind of still want to do it. But now it's about the journey.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I'm famous. I don't care about the end result anymore.
Right.
I want to just tell a story. And if I'm part of that story, or I'd love to play a villain. I don't know why. I would love to be.
Villains are fun to play.
I think they are. Yeah.
You get to kind of like, it's like free range almost.
Yeah.
You know? It's okay to step on somebody's toes, you know what I'm saying? Because you're the villain, you know?
And I think I would thrive in that for some reason. I don't know. But, it would be fun. So yeah, I still have that bug, I guess. But
what did you start doing when you first started, getting into acting? I guess. Because we were in a small town, so there wasn't a lot of opportunities. But gotcha.
Probably as young as I can remember, I would walk around my living room dressed. I would walk around my living room in whitey tighties and a towel pinned around my neck, acting out the movie Masters of the Universe.
Nice.
Like down to like every day after my nap. My mom did not like that, but I'd get up after my nap. I'd put it on, and then I would act out the whole movie.
Damn.
And I did that every day.
Damn, every day.
Yeah. And then I don't know when I stopped. Probably school, I guess. And then I would try to do plays. I would from a young age. I just did it.
So when you did plays, when you first started doing plays, was it like, did you feel comfortable doing plays? Like, were you nervous in front of people and stuff like that?
A little bit, but not really.
Okay.
But I also think there's like this energy. I feel like you hear from people that do it for a living. Like there's this energy they get from doing it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't there either. Like I wanted the recognition, but I just was empty, or I would never felt fulfilled.
Yeah.
And like you said, mentally, like, was I ready? And I don't know if I was. I think I was pursuing everything for the wrong reasons. Like I wanted to prove my father wrong. I wanted to make my mom proud. I wanted to do it for everybody else. But like, what did I want to do?
Yeah.
And for a long time, I just never stopped and asked that.
Yeah. Then it becomes like second nature to you.
Yeah.
Like, and then you start thinking, am I making the right decisions? Do I go down this route? Do I go down that route? And it's like, fuck.
Yeah. I was actually talking to my therapist about that today. Because like I've entered in some transitions in my life financially and professionally. And then I'm like, well, I need to be responsible.
Yeah.
But I also want to buy a truck. And I'm like, but I might be able to afford it. And it's like, I'm like really scared that I'm going to do something wrong. And she just was like, hey, look at your past experiences and look at who got you here. Who got you to your success? You did.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So you got to trust yourself. Like, go through the process of you analyzing things, but trust yourself ultimately.
Yeah.
You got you here.
Yeah. And that's like a big part of that is your wife, like talking to her and having that communication of, hey, I want to do these things. What do you think? I mean, like that's your other half, right? So
yeah,
even with finances and anything like that,
Yeah, I think a good foundation at home is really great too. Like I feel lucky. I mean, I waited a long time to see something. Like I had friends right out of college.
Right.
They get married and then sadly like down the road. I think me waiting and be comfortable with myself and then finding my wife and then us developing a healthy relationship or we're both in our late 20s, early 30s, and waited till we found the right person, or until we were comfortable with who we were. And then, having that
makes a big
sounding
difference,
board.
bro.
It is, man. Just being happy with yourself is huge.
Yeah. But like to really define who you are and like what makes you happy and shit like that before you find somebody is like,
Oh man,
so big.
Yeah, I feel like it allows you to. It's weird because I think before that you're so focused on the relationship, but I think when you're comfortable with who you are, you're allowed to really focus on the relationship, or it takes care of itself. It's still work to be in a relationship. You gotta be courteous and account for the relationship, your partner's feelings, etc. But when you're like practicing good self habits, then and you understand yourself, then if there was some animosity that comes up in you before, it's like I might not know where that animosity or what that is, but now that I know myself, I can like reflect and be like, why am I upset? Where's this coming from? And like be mindful or meditate and like, oh, this bothers me because X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Let me set a boundary or talk openly about it with my partner. And then you talk. And the hardest thing was setting those boundaries and talking to people, not just your partner, but just like anyone.
Yeah.
And if someone does care about you, they'll hear you and listen to you and either try to meet you halfway or resolve it or understand what's going on. Or they won't. And then you realize that person's not healthy for you.
Yeah.
But that fear of they won't for the longest time was so hard. Like that fear of rejection and like circling back around, like that felt like that.
Especially
feels
to
like
the person that
stuff.
especially the person that you're supposed to love.
Yeah. And like there were so many relationships through my 20s where it was like my whole being was myself through their eyes. And if they were disappointed or they wanted to break up with me or anything, it's like I'm devastated.
Yeah.
And then once you go to a place where like no matter how you get there, where you become comfortable with who you are and confident and you don't need external validation, you can create that from within for the most part.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable with your decisions. But then the relationship's not controlling you, you're controlling your being.
Right.
And like that's so empowering. And I think
is.
that's when like when a relationship's like really thrive.
Right. Did you start like I guess this knowledge that you speak of.
Yeah.
Was it after therapy?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was like probably 3 years of therapy. I really like felt like I finally was happy, but it wasn't like I'm happy today. It was
a gradual thing.
Yeah. And I think I didn't notice it until about 3 years in. Like one time I was just had a mindful. I was like, hey, I'm not depressed like I remembered.
Yeah. Well, peppy.
Yeah.
Peppy.
But it's work and a gradual process. So
how depressed were you?
I was
beforehand?
thinking about like suicide every night.
Really?
Yeah.
That bad? Like every night?
Yeah, like I would rather, I would fantasize to kill myself and not get up the next day because I was dreading the next day so much
Yeah.
that I was like,
That's wild, man.
yeah.
How
It's
old
not a
were
fun
you?
place.
Like when that started?
I'm probably like 28,
28?
I think so.
Wow.
I'm trying to think back.
Was there something in particular that made you think that? Or is it just everything coming down on
I think it was like 2 bad times in my life, and like one of them was bad because both of them were reasons I was depressed. Don't know how depression works, but like sometimes you get depressed. I think it's the mindfulness or not dealing with trauma or childhood trauma.
All the above?
But I was in a situation where I was like working a desk job that I hated. So like my life wasn't where I wanted it to be. I wasn't doing anything to further it. I was doing what I needed to do to survive. But it was a great job. It was great. It was great for everybody else looking at it. So, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And that was the time that I was like thinking about suicide every day. And I quit and I got into freelance again, or went into freelance, and I worked my tail off to get back
What
in.
made you quit?
The suicide.
It got too much.
It got to where that, and I had a job opportunities to freelance. Like I was like, if I get this freelance gig with this company to do AV production and become one of their contractors, I'm going to quit. And I did, and I started doing some work for them, and then I quit, and that was scary. Especially because like when I quit, like I quit, and then I didn't have work for like a month. I was like, where'd the work go? And thankfully somebody got me on a couple shows, and I got 2 big shows, and those 2 shows allowed me to pay that month's bills. And then same thing, like the next month I made just enough to pay that month's bills, and then you just keep going, and slowly you make it if you want to, I guess. Right. But even when I made it, 2 years later, I was like working for a TV show and had this like beautiful girlfriend. She was great. She was successful. She was a psychologist. Like everything was awesome, and I should have been happy. Should have been. Yeah. And I wasn't. And I started having those thoughts again of like, man, maybe I should just die. Like I should just. Damn. And here I am, like filming and doing like I'm living my dream, right? Yeah. Like everything should be great, and it wasn't. And that's when I like made a call to. I was like, this isn't normal, or I need help. And I called a therapist and called around. Was like, hey, yeah. So I kind of want to kill myself.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but
yeah, I don't want to get admitted or anything. Right. I need to work. Yeah. But I need to talk to somebody. Can you call me back?
Was it hard to find a therapist at first?
I want to say yeah. I feel like what you should say is no. Go find someone to get help.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it is hard. You know,
it is
because you guys got to match.
I think that's a misconception. People think like, oh, I just go to a therapist. It's like, no, they're people too. And like, it's like a quote from like Sleepless in Seattle. I think it's like relationships are like trying on a coat. Like sometimes it's not right. Sometimes it's a little snug. Yeah. You got to wait for the right fit. It's the same thing with therapists or business transactions and things like that, or business partners. Like, right.
That's
and
definitely true.
The thing that I did that helped, that I felt vain, but because of childhood trauma, because I was sexually molested when I was a child by a man, by our neighbor.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, I didn't trust men. And my father wasn't around. So I had more trust issues with men. So I didn't want a male therapist. And then for whatever trauma I had, I also didn't want to see an old lady. I felt like I felt like if I was talking to my grandma, right, I wouldn't be like honest or
holding back.
And I was just like, I want to talk to an attractive woman, and I feel like I can open up with them about anything. And for whatever reason, like it feels vain and sexist and all these things. And I've talked to my therapist openly about that. After a few years of therapy, I was like, hey, this is how I found you, because I felt like that was the best way for me to just be open. And thankfully, like my first therapist that I found, also we were a good fit together.
That's good.
When we matched, and she was the first person to call me back. Like, nice. I called like 5 or 6 therapists, and I was like, "Hey, so I'm thinking about suicide. I really need some help. Could you call me back as soon as you can so we could set up a time to talk?" 1 out of 5 therapists called me back within 24 hours. 1 called me a week later. And 3 didn't respond.
Damn.
And I was just like, oh man, like that was kind of depressing in itself.
Yeah, it's like, man, maybe I'm not worth it.
Yeah. I was like, the one that called me a week later was just like, yeah, I was calling to see if you needed any help. And I wanted to be like, no, man, that guy died.
You should have, like, to see what happens.
I was so like, why would you like wait? So that seems like an emergency.
Yeah. For real.
Or like call back just to say, hey, even if you couldn't help me, call back and to say, I'm not available to help right now. Call this number, call this hotline, so I just feel fortunate that like I got the first try. But yeah, some people aren't as lucky. You gotta, if it doesn't feel right, or you don't trust that you're gonna be totally open with your therapist, or whatnot. Try to find one that you can. Yeah. Or stay in the best situation you can during that time. Like finances are holding you back, then you do what you can until you can get something better.
Yeah.
Like some help's better than no help.
True. Even if you go one time, it might help. You know, like finances and stuff. You only pay for one time or something like that.
Some therapists like have a sliding scale. Like if you talk to them openly, because I didn't have health insurance, so I told her that, and I was like, hey, I'm self-pay. and I can't afford your $105 rate. Like that is a lot, and you're worth it. I know that. I'm a freelancer. I think you deserve it all.
Right.
But I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I have a sliding scale. What can you afford? And I was like, I feel like I can do $20. Like what I'm willing to spend on myself, which is really what it is. I'm willing to spend $20 an hour on myself. And she's like, well, what about 40? And I'm like, I'll do 40 for myself. Even though I, like at the time, it just felt expensive because I was poor. But I was like, I really need help. So, and I think we did that every other week. And fortunately, I'm successful enough now, and my insurance covers a lot of it.
Oh, nice.
So I pay $10 every visit now.
Nice. So
she gets to have her whole $125 an hour, and I pay $10 of it, and the Blue Cross Blue Shield takes care of the rest.
There we go. Nice, dude. Yeah, you got lucky on that first try, man.
I did, yeah, because I feel like it takes some time for someone to find the right fit.
Right.
Then you got to put in the work to better yourself because it's not easy.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like it feels like it should be. I give my therapist a hard time. I'm glad we can joke, but I'm like, I pay you to solve my problems. And I said that the first year. I was like, no, I pay you to solve my. And she's like, no, that's not how therapy. That's not how therapy works. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you got to put in work. And I'm like, why am I here? I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be here today without her, like physically and like successfully in my career.
Right. Yeah, that's true. They make a big difference, especially like that when they don't have any kind of like bias.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
It's like, because my therapist is probably the only person that knows everything about me. Like there's some parts of me like my mom doesn't know. There's some parts of me my wife doesn't know. I think my wife knows everything.
There's always one thing.
Well, always one thing. But like, but I think my therapist has helped me be more open with my wife. And then my wife has also, I've been scared to talk about things like childhood traumas and things like that with my wife. And then what I've learned, like I've opened up to her. She's compassionate, empathetic, and there for me, and it's like, oh, that makes the relationship stronger.
Yeah, and her intentions are pure and very understanding.
Yeah,
and so that helps a lot.
Yep, and but like it's like my therapist is there to help me be successful, to deal with life, trauma, or things that I didn't even know were like there from the past, like childhood trauma from either being molested or my father not being there. All those things like have an impact on you, but when you're the only person experiencing it when you're a kid and that's your normal, like I don't have anything to compare it to. I'm just living my life not knowing if other people are doing the same thing or not. I'm just like, this is my reality.
Yeah.
And then when you get older and you find that your reality kind of sets the stage for a lot of things that you do in your life. Like why am I a perfectionist? Oh, because my father wasn't around. Why do I want to always appease everyone? My father wasn't around. It's like this weird thing of like always seeking approval.
Yeah.
Or a fear that I might lose my mom's like affection because my dad walked out.
Right. So
can it be the same with my mom?
Could be possible.
And it feels like it's not. My mom's always been there.
Yeah.
And for everything. So, but it's it's weird because you grow up and you develop these habits, partially for your self-preservation, right?
Yeah. We all make decisions based on what happened to our life in the past.
Yeah.
So, how was it? Did you have any nightmares after you got molested?
No, my mom got me in therapy like right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she found out right away.
Yeah, I was like 4 when I told her.
Oh wow, 4.
And so like my mom wanted to try him as an adult, and he was tried as a juvenile.
Oh, he was a teenager?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and no nightmares. I just told my mom like, hey, like he would always start everything with like a card game, like I guess strip poker. I don't remember a lot of it either. Like I remember three incidents. Everything else is blacked out.
Gotcha.
So, and so I just told my mom one time when she pulled out a deck of cards and played. I was like, I don't like this game. My mom was like, what game? Tell me more. And I just kind of told her everything, and then I don't know what happened after that. Like, when call the police or different things.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you were really young.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. Like, apparently, I did really good in court.
Oh, really?
I don't remember any of that.
Gotcha.
I sat in the judge's chair. That seems like it would have been cool. Who gets to sit in a judge's chair, right? Like,
right.
I don't remember any of it.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I do remember therapy. She got me into therapy.
Yeah.
And therapy as a kid was fun. I got to go open. I was open and talking about that trauma with someone that there's like no judgment.
Yeah.
And it was always.
Were you open about it? Like yourself? You're like.
Yeah, I feel like when you're a kid, if like you're met with like not. With no shame or anything, like.
Gotcha.
So I was open about it with my childhood therapist. I don't remember who or what her name was, but she helped. It was partially for me and partially for my mom. But I always liked going because I got to go talk about it, and then for like 30 minutes I got to go play on the playground.
Oh, nice.
But that's when I was on the playground. My mom was talking
her
one-on-one with the therapist on like what's next and different things like that. So
Gotcha. I don't know if you were too young to remember this, but when you told your mom what was happening, and after you told her,
I don't remember any of that.
You don't remember any of that? So like, I was.
This is from Mom telling me what I did and how things
gotcha.
were. I just remember the 3 incidents, even though it was much more.
Gotcha.
Like there was much more sexual assault that happened. I only remember 3 times.
Yeah. And so because you were young, that developed the fear of men, you said, right?
Yeah. Like it took me until I was like 32 or 35 before I had a male doctor. Like I would seek out a female family doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting because you were so young, you barely remember it, but at the same time, it affected your life in such a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Like it still affects my life. It's like a lifelong thing. I felt like my childhood was stolen from me, like learning how things are. Because from an early age, like everything was sexualized because I was sexualized as a kid.
Right.
So I don't feel like I ever got to just like play like it was.
Yeah.
And also I like saw interactions between grown men, I guess, or just adults differently than other kids. Like if someone was overly friendly, even now, like if I see someone overly friendly to a child, I'm like, what's that angle? Why are they?
Right.
And like I'm picking up on things I think other people don't.
So let's go back a little bit to your career a little bit. You were started acting, that led to working behind the camera. And then you said, did you say that you found fulfillment behind the camera?
Yeah, I had fun doing that.
Gotcha. And so what kind of stuff were you doing? Oh, at the time, when you first started getting into it.
When I first started getting into it, did a couple movies where I did lighting and acting.
Yeah. And is it like paid gigs or is it just like kind of like local stuff?
Like it was paid, but it wasn't great. Like like, hey, you're gonna be an actor. We'll pay you $75 a day, and you'll get whatever profit, 1% profits if we make any money.
Right.
We never made any money. And then like I found lighting to be more financially stable, so I started doing that, and then just like slowly kept making more money lighting and being behind the scenes and then getting behind the camera.
Yeah.
And what I found is more fulfilling staging a shot or capturing the moment. Because my expertise now is like live sports and live events you are not orchestrating and creating the perfect shot. Like you would on film set. You have to organically capture it while framing it in a like
the best
cinematic way.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite shots in live sports was when Vince Young, when he played for Texas, won the national championship. And there's this shot that's looking up from behind him, and he's doing this, and the lights are down, the confetti is coming down, and he's doing this, and it's this like iconic moment. And I'm like, is one of the few times like I remember like I want to do that. And I think I've always thought that. Never thought I would do it, but it's like I want to do that. Like I want to be the guy that's getting that shot.
Oh, interesting. Did you like camera more, or did you like lighting more?
Camera. I like making more money. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that perfectionist thing, but I am really nervous that I feel like I don't know how to light.
It is a little scary.
Like I'm just like
I get that.
And I feel like when you get behind the camera and start looking at the camera, like then it makes sense because you can see all the shadows. But there's like some expert grips and expert lighting people and key grips and things like that, where they come in and they're like, they can look at the subject and they're gonna say right there, okay, I need a key here, I need this fill, I need this, oh, I got a hairline. Like they're sitting there, they're already seeing how this is gonna look. Nothing's up yet.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, they're gonna get there. All right, well, let's get one light up. All right, let's get one more. All right, let's look at the camera. And I just didn't feel like an expert enough, nor did I ever really know exactly what we were going for. I didn't feel like I was an expert enough.
Gotcha.
I didn't feel like my measurement of precision, my care for that, of that precision was precise enough for me to be an expert and go make a living at it.
Gotcha. Yeah. I feel like that's when you have to like make sure you talk to the DP about like what kind of look you're going for and stuff like that, right?
Probably. And I'm better there. I'll be like, oh yeah, I want this.
Right.
And then they'll make it happen. I come back and look at it on the camera like, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like it looks exactly the way I want to. I guess I couldn't translate that from a DP to the lighting language where I could tell you what I want and then we can get it.
Right.
And even then when you're the DP or behind the camera, like it's my call.
Yeah.
Am I happy enough with this? That's when I feel like that level of like measurement, I'm like, it looks good for me. I'm happy with it.
Gotcha.
Where if I would be stressing every like lighting gig. So I did find it fulfilling. I found it great because I was doing what I love to do.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of equipment when it comes to lighting too.
Yeah.
So what happened after you started just working behind the camera on some films and stuff? Like what was next after that?
So, doing sports. It just was where hard work met opportunity. So I got on Love It or List It through a contact, and they referred me to that show. Okay. And I started on there doing lighting and just grip work, and then their third camera guy left, so they asked me to fill in, and then they thought I did a great job, so I did that for a few years.
Were you nervous when you got on that camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then did a good enough job.
Right.
And then I just knew people in sports, and I just wanted to work. Like when you're freelance, you're just trying to work.
Right.
So I just took what jobs came.
Gotcha.
And like.
But you knew, it seemed like you knew for a fact that you wanted to go down the sports route.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to be an actor, and then I wanted to make films. Like I want to be an actor. Oh, I don't know if I want to be an actor. I want to be behind camera. So I tried to get behind the camera because it paid money, and I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go make movies. I'm gonna make movies one day.
Yeah.
Still a goal. Love to make a movie.
Right.
But yeah, got behind the camera. But while I'm doing that, I'm also doing like corporate production. So I'm doing all these dabbling things, and then someone got me into doing Kane's Vision for the Carolina Hurricanes and some NC State sports and some streaming stuff, low-paying stuff, but you're getting hands on a camera and you're working.
Yeah.
And so I took that opportunity and went with that. And then that started flourishing, and I started ESPN started calling me more, and I got a fork in the road one time. I feel like when you get a fork in the road that you know, like this is like this fork is determining the rest of my life.
Yeah. Dude,
the fact that you realize that and like can be mindful enough to like have that moment and to realize it in the moment that like you're really like, this is it. I can go one way or the other. And I had to choose between Love It or List It and staying with them and being one of their camera guys and working and hustling with them, or going the sports route. And I just came down to business. Like ESPN never canceled on me. They always booked me within 2 weeks out or more, and they felt more secure. And on the love it or list it aside, like I would get booked for 5 days.
What is Love It Listed and
It's an
Listed?
HGTV show.
Okay, gotcha.
Where they
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Houses, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they renovate a house, and then if the owners of the house love it, they'll keep the house.
That's right.
But if they don't like it, then they're gonna list it and they'll move out.
Gotcha.
So, but did I want to stay with them and be on their crew?
Right.
But that wasn't like full time or anything. It was, hey, can you go work these next 4 days? And then like it'd be like 8 days away from those 4 days, and it's like, hey, we only need you for 2 of them actually.
Oof.
And I'm like, oh man, well I turned down some work to be here for this.
Right.
And that work was pretty good. It was some corporate work that pays a lot. And so they did that a lot more than ESPN.
Gotcha.
So I let it go. Told them that they could. I'd fill in every once in a while if they needed me, but this is where I was going.
Right. That makes sense. That's good, man. I feel like that was a good route for you, especially since you're a sports person, right?
Yeah. No, not anymore. I used to be.
Oh, really?
I feel like working in it all the time. Like, so what do you want to do now on your free time? You want to watch any sports? I'm like, no, man.
Are you sick of sports now?
Yeah, I'm just like I watch F1 and UFC.
There you go.
That's it. So everything else, like it's like you want to watch NFL on Sundays? No.
Have you been on a Have you been a camera guy on the martial arts?
That's what my first one of my first big time camera gigs was.
Really?
And not UFC. I did King of the Cage.
Do I remember that? Weren't you talking about that?
I was, yeah.
At one point?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Because I did that. That was earlier on in our career. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I went up in there and did that.
But that was fun.
It was. And then
you were one of the camera guys that were like on the cage. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And what was cool, I should have been more validated. Like looking back and realizing my worth, like how good I was. Like back then, I didn't know. I didn't know that was good. I just knew that I was getting gigs.
Yeah.
The producer of that show came back to me because it was all tape delayed and we recorded it.
Right.
And like I went in with show lights. Went in like the night before and talked to the tech and got the show lights up, white balanced all the cameras, got everything set. So the other camera guy come in and we all matched and the producer came up to me after they got all the content and it's like that's the best film content we've had.
Really?
Damn. Because of you. And I was like, dope. I didn't realize how important or how good that was or rare that was. Now looking back, it's like, oh, that was a solid compliment.
Yeah.
And I just water off my back. And it was like, oh, cool. To me, that was what you're supposed to do. And it's amazing how many people don't do what I think should be or is the standard.
Yeah, that's true. Or like exceeding what's already there and stuff like that. Did they ever call you back or anything? Or
a few times I turned it down because a lesson I learned was don't plan for something that's not accounted for yet. That producer called me back, wanted me on more shows and guaranteed stuff, and I turned it down because I was trying to apply for a job at Caden's that I wasn't quite qualified for, but I was applying and I was waiting because I wanted that job.
Right.
And at the beginning, I was like, well, I don't want to say yes to you, then take it away, and then because I get this job, I'm trying to be professional. And what I've learned is like, no, you take the guaranteed. Because you don't know what's not.
Right.
If it's not on the table yet, like don't.
And if it becomes on the table, then you figure it out then.
Yep, exactly. then I might have to put them in a tough spot or say, hey, no, or I tell them, hey, I will accept it, but I got 10 more dates.
Yeah.
But I was like in my late 20s, mid late 20s. I didn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out business of freelancing and all that.
Right. Yeah, it's tough, man. It can be, at least. One thing I've learned is never get too comfortable with enough work that you have now.
Yeah.
Because it could disappear.
Yep. COVID was hard.
Oh, I bet.
That's like the worst. That is the worst fear I think any freelancer has because you're working for yourself, really. And like the way I look at it is you work, you bank all your money and only pay yourself what you need for the month, and maybe $100 extra, like until you get through the tough like dry season, and then once you get into where everything starts flourishing again, which to me was August. Football season starts up. I knew that I was good for the next 9 months. But those summer months were always dry. So it's like I save all my money until I get back to August. Then, I can spend a little bit because I know I'm going to start making money again.
Right.
But I only pay myself X amount of dollars. I only need $2,000 to live. I pay myself $2,400 for the month. And I think that's one of the reasons I was successful. But you don't know when it's going to stop. And in your brain, you're like, it's your worst fear.
Yeah.
But you keep working and always taking the work. And then like COVID happened. Like that's like the unrealistic worst fear is that your work and everything just goes away.
Yeah.
And then it did.
Like that.
And then it's like, what do you do?
I was freaking out, man. But luckily unemployment checks, you could get and stuff like that. Is that what you had to do too?
I did. I probably could have got more.
Yeah.
I think I didn't do something right. Mine weren't very good. I think I was supposed to also apply through New York because ESPN like pay is through New York. Like it was like something because I was union. Like it got weird. I could have probably gotten more money, but I was thankful we had enough in savings and we coasted through. And then the supplement checks covered our mortgage, and we were able to survive. And then thankfully it was just 6 months for me. 6 months to the day. Like ESPN called and asked if I was comfortable traveling and doing football.
Yeah.
And the real answer was no, I was not comfortable traveling. Yes, I need to make money. Let me do football. So I was like, I'll make it work. We weren't even like through the process of COVID yet.
Yeah.
It was like, we still don't know what's going on. Flights are bare. I flew so many first class flights though. It's awesome.
Damn, that's nice.
And like the whole plane was empty. Like it was surreal.
All right.
Working through 2020 and traveling during the pandemic. It was
That's weird.
like, scary, adventurous, exciting. Like it was all these things in one. Like I feel guilty that I said it was exciting, but it was like the fact that it's like, because I took it very seriously. I was messed up because my wife has a compromised immune system and sitting back at home, we don't know what's going on with her. I don't want to bring this back. And at the time, like we didn't know much about the virus. So pretty scary. So it's like I masked up all the time. I didn't touch anybody. I just hung out in my hotel room. But at the same time, it's like there's no one on the plane. There's hardly anyone out. You go to a football stadium that's supposed to have 30 to 60,000, sometimes the 100,000 people. There's no one there. You could set up your camera in the stands. You didn't have to stand it and put it in like a basket. Like it's just surreal things that we'll hopefully never experience again in our lifetime.
Right. When you came home from traveling and stuff like that, did you like have this fear of like wanting to stay away from your wife?
I did. Like, yeah. I asked her. I was like, "Do you want me to quarantine?"
Right.
And her response was no, because I was only home for 2 days. Because at the time, right in the middle of COVID, we had so much safety policies. We would fly out, quarantine for a day. Fly out, test when we got there, quarantine for a day, set up, shoot, then fly back home.
Gotcha.
And thankfully, like ESPN is great, and like we got paid for all those time that we were gone, which is more than we normally go out. Like we fly out, set up, or set, shoot, and strike the same day, and then come back. So we're gone for 3 days.
Yeah.
Get paid 2 half days, so we get paid 2 days, like half day each travel and whatnot. During COVID, it was full day rate when you fly out, full day rate for the day that you're quarantining in your hotel after you've tested.
Wow.
Full day rate for setup, full day rate for the show and strike, and then a half day or a full day on your flight back. So 5 days, 40 hours.
Damn.
Of a full day camera rate.
That's wild, man.
So like every week I'm making
Bank.
5 times 25 with overtime. Like we're probably making like $3,000 every weekend. Yeah. And like that was helped us get back to like zero.
Yeah. Like
getting back to just having a normal bank account. And I felt really fortunate that ESPN did that. We got paid more. I mean, it was all due to safety and COVID restrictions and stuff, but like just having them short after 6 months was able to keep us afloat.
Right.
And I could stay in the industry.
Yeah.
So.
Damn.
It was surreal.
That's a wild ride,
it was a weird 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
you have a vast knowledge of like camera stuff and just I feel like all technical things when it comes to like live events maybe and
I just always this is the coming back to childhood stuff. I feel like I only know what I don't know, and I'm never thinking about what I know.
Right. But
And
until
it's
you
hard-
look back and like,
Yeah.
oh, I do know.
Or like trying to be open to hearing compliments like you're giving me, like like really hearing it, because it used to be I would just be like, thanks, Oliver, and just brick wall. Like, you're really good and technical. Thanks, man. I have no idea what you even mean. And now I try to listen more, and it's hard to accept it. But people aren't giving you compliments willy-nilly.
Right.
Like people are like, no, you're really knowledgeable. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
listen for that.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Because for me, I just keep focusing on my shortfalls.
Right.
And it's always a constant thing of trying to look inward and be like, no, celebrate your successes or recognize what you're good at.
Right.
And when I hear that validation, it's like, no, stop and try to recognize that. Other people are noticing. You should take notice yourself.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of like meditations or hypnosis or anything like that?
No, my therapist wants me to.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at homework. It's like, go watch these videos, do some meditation. The best I've done is yoga.
Gotcha. Is that like, so what are some things that you do to like for your mental? Like it doesn't have to be like homework that she gives you or anything like that.
I try to be compassionate to myself.
Oh, okay.
And
That's a good one.
For me, and my therapist helped me notice this, I'm kind to other people and empathetic and receptive. Like I won't tell you that because you have an expert and you're some experts in like or you're expert in fields of audio and some lighting, right? I would never come up to you and criticize all your audio mistakes.
Right.
I would praise and build you up.
Right.
And if you did make a mistake, I would either give you grace because you're human,
Right.
or like if it's something that I've noticed a couple times, I'd say, hey man, like what's up with this? Why are we doing this? There's some reasons, or here's some ways I think we can improve. Why is it that I can't treat myself the same as I treat everybody else? And when I started trying to focus that back to myself, like when I'm being critical,
Yeah.
or like you gave me that compliment of like, I'm a very technical person. I have so much knowledge of camera, and you're telling me all this, and all I can think when someone gives me that is I'm a fraud, and I know people way better than me.
That imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, like.
That could be a hard thing to think about at first, especially because it's like those are the kind of questions or thoughts that could get you into a depression. It's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm sure that was you went down that route. I'm sure at some point.
I'm sure too. It's been so long, I don't remember, nor do I care to. I'm like,
yeah, but it seems like you've grown so much mentally. You continue to grow, and I think you have a great perspective that people can kind of look at and see like, oh, you know, like I'm going through something similar, and you know, he doesn't even have it perfect, but to me, he's so far ahead of, you know, of it than I am, or something like that. So, yeah.
I feel like even my mentors and some of the most successful people I know, they have imposter syndrome too. Like directors of national broadcast sports shows.
Yeah.
And I talk to them, they're like, no, I'm scared. I'm not doing good enough. It's like, dude, you're like what I want to be. Like
right,
you're,
right, yeah.
and it's like, and part of that is maybe harnessing. Like you take that and harness that, and make sure they continue to strive for success. But the good mental health side is being mindful and kind to yourself, and understanding, hey, I'm human. It's okay. Everything I've done has brought me here. I do belong here. It's gonna be okay. But
so I think the takeaway from all of this is making sure that you're giving yourself praise and telling yourself that it's okay.
Yeah.
Even if things aren't technically okay, you'll still be okay.
Yeah.
In the end, kind of thing.
Yep.
So, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be on here.
Absolutely.
I've been watching it and I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. I was like, I gotta go start a business so I could be on your show. I was like, I don't know what to do. I gotta find something. And
you are enough. You're enough.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody where they could find your podcast?
It's youtube.com/@LightsCameronDustin.
No commas?
Not camera. It's Lights Cameron, as in a person's name, and Dustin. I can toss you the link. Maybe flash it up.
Did you tell them? Yeah, do that. No, I'll do that.
Yeah, you do that.
I'll do that. Yeah. Did you tell them what the podcast is about?
It's just a variety show. We try to talk about different things. Just
Gotcha.
Sometimes it's politics in America. Sometimes it's differences between being black and white, because my co-host, he's a black guy, and I'm a white guy.
Right.
Shocker, surprise. But I think we just try to get on there and talk about real stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's all no telling what it's going to be like. We also try to be funny, and then our producers go through and edit it and put in a lot of effects or try to make it funny, and just. The goal is for all of us that are making it just to have fun.
Nice.
Because no one's getting paid.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to make us famous, awesome. Then if you make us famous, we'll start listening to what you want, and then we'll start putting in more what you like.
Get some suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to our page, comment, put in some topics.
Yeah.
We're still playing with the format. I think the goal for us, the long-term goal, I think, is to perform it on location. We're trying to be different than other podcasts.
Right.
And but.
What are you trying to say?
I think we're trying to figure it out still.
Okay. All right.
So it's
I think the figuring out stage is it's a good place to be, because you have so much freedom to kind of go in whatever direction you want to go into.
Yeah.
It could be chaotic at some point, but
I think one piece of advice someone gave me that I didn't understand until later in life was, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly.
I like that.
I hated that quote because I was like, no, you should do it perfectly. But what I pulled away from it over time is, if you wait for the perfect time to do it or the perfect scenario, you're going to wait forever.
Yeah.
But just start doing it.
Yeah.
Like our podcast, we don't know all the things we want yet. We know we want to have it fun and two guys talking about current events. Mm-hmm. So we just started doing it, and now we're learning what we like, what we don't like, and you learn something from every episode, as long as you're getting 1% better each time.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is getting 1% better each time.
But if you don't start, you're not making any progress.
Right.
So even if you're putting out content that's not great, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Like, once you go viral and people discover you, then...
Nobody cares about the stuff that
or they're going to go back and watch it and be like, oh, this is some cool early stuff. This is before they were big. Like, it's... but yeah, just... I like that quote. Something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly.
That reminds me of when I told my improv students, make sure you fail in class as much as you can before you get on stage. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, failing's just an opportunity for learning. What's the fail? There's like a failed acronym.
There is. What is it?
Should I pull up my...
phone a friend.
Hello, Google. First attempt in learning. That one's all right. There's got to be another one.
I felt like there was another one. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. Again,
no problem, man.
Pleasure. What was the name of the podcast?
Lights,
Cameron,
Dustin.
Boom. All right. Thanks.